if we don't have a replacement for Themba Zwane, if we look in the direction of Lucas Ribeiro Costa, is that not the same situation where if we're a proud footballing nation, we've got all this talent that we keep on speaking about, and we are AFCON champions, and we finished third in the last campaign, and we are good. Is this necessarily a good thing to look in that particular direction? So, Jay, an obvious hole is a Themba Zwane hole for Bafana Bafana. An obvious replacement is Lucas Costa Ribeiro, and he said he has come out to say that it would be an honor to represent South Africa if the call if the call comes his way. Should we go foreign, or do you think we still look amongst our own in terms of the Bafana Bafana setup?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I said, like not too long ago, that is our response, right? There's our solution right there, like in the Brazilian at Sundowns. Of course, he's not eligible to play for Bafana until at least 2028. So first in line would have been Gaston Sirino.
Yeah.
But then the coach of Bafana Bafana, Hugo Broos, came out and he said that Sirino's age profile does not quite fit what he wants to do, as well as saying that he's not quite the type of player for him. I don't know really what that means because, in terms of the best 10s in the PSL, Sirino's up there and he started the season well for Kaizer Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
But Sirino's is another one, is Uruguayan, so he would have been another foreign option to plug in there, maybe while you wait for Ribeiro Costa, because then when you move away from him, you go then to a Brazilian, and the question is, do we not have any options right here at home? Two things, right? First of all, I have said one of the reasons we have not seen as many goals in the PSL is not just down to the lack of quality strikers. It is also because of the creativity behind the strikers. We haven't had like very good 10s for a long time in the PSL, particularly South African ones, and there's something about the number 10 position which is quintessentially South African. The number 10 and the number 6, like you go anywhere and you watch a football match in South Africa, and the fans who are looking out for who's playing in the number 6, who's playing in that number 10 position, right? Which is why Umshishi, we love him so much, which is why as well, historically we've loved people like Teko Modise, as well as Okama as well. He was more of a forward, but as well dropping into that hole. So the way then that Hugo Broos plays the number 10 is important, and there was a point where we were wondering, is Tito Maswanganyi the player that we go to? It doesn't seem like the coach favors the player much, and then his form has tailed off in recent times, which is why we came to Sirino or Lucas Ribeiro Costa, and what does that say about like South Africa? What does that say about the PSL? What does that say about the players that we've produced? Because we went to a whole semi-final of the AFCON. What we needed was a coaching change, clearly, and who's a coach then who's going to communicate his ideas, which are not foreign to our style of play. He looked at the style of play that we were enacting at the AFCON, and then even outside of the AFCON, like how we play under Broos, like that very quintessential South African style. We're good in possession. We play the triangles. We occupy those half spaces, and we want to pass our way to scoring a goal from the back all the way to the front. And it's a distinguished style of play amongst the other African nations. And Chuck, we were successful enough, as I'm saying, to get to the AFCON semi-final, and it was just South African-born players. You want to put it that way. Yeah. So the question is now: should we not look at what we have? Should we then look foreign? I think you look foreign when the foreign option is exceptional. And I think when you compare Sirino and you compare Ribeiro in particular, they're exceptional. Like I think what's going to happen with Bafana in the upcoming internationals as we look to qualify for the AFCON is Relemo Mofokeng is going to play in the number 10 position. And we spoke to people who have watched him from development level, and they say he's actually a 10. We've not quite seen him play for Pirates as the 10. He drifts into the number 10 position, but he starts off as a left winger. So to then throw him at international level and say, okay, you are the next man up. Maybe he's good enough, he's talented enough to take the mantle and run with it. You have him as the best player at Orlando Pirates and actually even in the PSL at the moment. So he is an exceptional talent. But the question is, can he operate at that level at international in the international arena off the back of we're not trying you out necessarily because we are experimenting or we are testing out our depth. No, this is a qualifier and our main guy is out, so we're handing you the keys. We think it's gonna be Urel,
Yeah.
but I'd feel more comfortable if we had a Sirino. I'd feel more comfortable if we could go to a Ribeiro. And as I'm saying, like I think you conscript the foreign nationals if they are special and those players are special. I foam at the mouth, man. Like I'm salivating at the mouth, thinking like when I see what Sundowns are doing with Ribeiro in particular, and thinking what he can do for Bafana Bafana. Same thing with Sirino, with a team that is still developing at Kaizer Chiefs. Other than a few performances, he's very much been the standout player. He's been driving the Nabi revolution. So you surround him with the quality that we already are seeing at Bafana Bafana level, and we're cooking with gas. Like I'd put up an example of Tenaim Tawarir at the Springboks. Zimbabwean born, and he went on to represent the Springboks over 100 caps. That's what I'm talking about. Like we're not just saying, "Hey, man, we just want anyone just because they're foreign."
Yeah.
We're talking about the fact that what do we have currently, and I think that the cupboards are a bit bare when it comes to number 10s who are South African born. And if you then get one of these guys, what does it do? Bistam Tawarira was there when we won a World Cup. And I think you get in one of those South Americans, it drives us to an AFCON title, man.
Let's
you should
see.
say no.
Let me see.
You
where I
should say
stand.
no because as you said, you are asking why what does Scotland have like having South African players and players who are not Scottish playing for them. So let's hear this, Chuck.
Let's see if I can articulate so you can tell where I stand. Look, here's where it favors players like Sirino, right? With Ribeiro, I think, as you said, his eligibility will only be in 2028, and after then he would have been with us for a little while, right? Rather than just a season and a bit we've had of him. And the thing that makes it easier to look in the direction of Abo Sirino is that he's been in our league, he's been on our shores for as long as he has, that we know him, we're accustomed to him. That's why the idea is not so crazy, right? And I say that because sometimes when someone says, we've got a South African midfielder playing in England, Dean Furman, you're like, who? Until he comes in. We don't know him. He is South African, but we don't know him. Then there was I forget the striker's name, the tall number 9 that we got before Hugo Broos came. He played, I think, twice for us. We're like, who? Those questions, Pierre is a South African. Who? Because we don't know who these players are until they come and they don the jersey of Bafana Bafana. You're like, okay, I'll back you because you're South African, but I don't know who you are. And so what is in Sirino's favor is that we've seen him in the blue and gold, no, blue and yellow, it's not gold, for Sundowns. And he's played very well under Pito Msimani. He was very, 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 very good for them until obviously he fell into the sidelines. Comes to Chiefs, and as you're saying, part of the revival, he's been a standout player where you're like, okay, give the ball to Sirino. That's what it is, really. I mean, the youngsters are good, but give the ball to Sirino. And so based on that, he's got a bit of favor. But I think, Jay, if we're going to be making as much noise about Urele, president of Amatuke Nanan, or we've said Tito is supposed to be player of the season, they should be first in line. I believe it makes sense that as Hugo Broos, either you try Tito until it fails, and you're like, okay, guys, I've tried, it's not working with this player, or maybe you go the Mfukeng route, and you're like, okay, this guy's got enough talent that I want to try him in this particular position before you go out and look to Abo Sirino, because I think it's not it. Other nations do it, and it makes sense to go that route in terms of we've had you for so long. South African football, in terms of the league capacity, has benefited for so long and so much because of having Sirino on our shores. Maybe South Africa as Bafana can benefit with having Sirino, but I think first in line is Rele, first in line is Tito. If they fail, then we can look in that direction. So I'm not completely against it, but I think there are other players who should be ahead of him.
The question for me is, when would we decide that they failed? Because most pressingly, we are playing 2 qualifiers to make it to the AFCON. The AFCON was only happening in December of 2025, and in between there will be World Cup qualifiers, so there will be an opportunity to see these players. But those are not friendly matches. We're still trying to qualify for the World Cup, so it's competitive matches that we're talking about. And the way I view Bafana Bafana is, when we get to the AFCON, we're going there to win it. So the question is, do we have the best pieces to go and win an AFCON, or are we still trying some players out? Here's my hope. I do hope Rele plays in the number 10 position against Uganda as well as South Sudan, and he just impresses. And then there's no conversation to be had. Like, we're not only good, we're good for the next decade, you know. But if Chuck, there's a sense that maybe he's a little shaky or like he needs more time, then what you want to have, you'd love to be able to have a plug and play guy next to him who you have a sense that he can do it. And for the longest time, it was Tito. And maybe it's being unfair to Masangai to then like forget about him and like look in other directions. The issue, as I pointed out, is that I don't think this coach rates Masangai very highly, you know, because when there's been an opportunity to play him, whether Bafana Bafana winning or when Temazwane went down with injury, he doesn't give him relevant minutes. So that's the problem. So if this coach is not going to play him, and also because as I pointed out, his form is now questionable, where maybe Hugo Bros feels even more justified not to play him, then you want someone else other than the 20-year-old, you know. And there's a feeling we don't actually know because we haven't seen Sirino play international football. We've seen him on the African continent when he was playing Champions League matches for Sundowns. He does have that experience, and his level didn't drop off when he was playing at that level. So there's a sense that even his level of maturity is that you can play him. And for me, him being 33, I hear what Bros is saying in terms of, well, I can't build for the future around him. But that's not the thought, because we do have the 20-year-old, and the hope is that it does work out. But while he's coming along, you have a guy who, going into 2025 with the World Cup qualifiers as well as the AFCON, he's right there. You know, you can play him. And he can have a 20-game career for Bafana Bafana until the point where Rele is very clearly the next guy. Zwane is back from injury, and hopefully he's still the same Themba Zwane. And when that period then passes, you have the option of Ribeiro. Or even if you do have the option come 2028, we're good, you know, because you would have had a situation whereby we've gone through the AFCON with Sirino and Rele has played now World Cup qualifiers, and he's been to a World Cup by that point, and it's 2028. He's very firmly the number 10 in the number 10 jersey. So I think, Chuck, you think international, and especially when we're talking about like tournaments, we have to win. If we're going there to win, we have to do it now. And the question is, right now, what gives us the best chances of winning? There are foreign guys who you can make an argument that are better than South African born guys and who are willing to play for the national team. I say you go for it, because for me, it's the exact same thing as getting a coach Hugo Bros in there. Ideally, South African would be coaching Bafana Bafana, you know, and be successful while doing that. But having not had quite the success under South African coaches and other foreign coaches, by the way, Hugo Bros comes in and he does what he does. And now you're not sitting here thinking to yourself, okay, thank you, Hugo Bros, for what you did for us up to this point. And at the AFCON, now move over, bring in a Helman Mkelele or whoever else is South African born to take that position. You know, I think it is the best guy for the job. Ideally, it is a South African. But if with the options of South African born versus a foreign national, the foreign national is better and is available, I think you unleash them on the rest of the world on behalf of South Africa.
I think my final thoughts on this, JR, is that we didn't have a plan, and by that I mean when England hired Thomas Tuchel, they were then arguing that what was the point of building the whatever center and getting the coaches to train and getting these programs if we're going to go foreign in the end. We happened upon Hugo Bros because that's the best candidate out there, and we can't look at South African coaches who have been through a SAFA program, because if we then say by 2030 we want to have these managers accredited by CAF, by FIFA, and to be working at this particular level, then we've got a plan. But if we don't have a plan, we go the Hugo Bros route, and we've done that before, right? We've done that by going for Luis Alberto and going foreign. We've gone for Philip Trussier because we thought foreign was better, right? But up until we've got a plan where we can present a prospect or a candidate that's South African who's better, this is what we're going to do, right? And unfortunately, with the playing position of E10, when you look in the defense, you look in the center of the park, if you look at the wingers, we've got plenty of options. We can go this way or that way with South African options. But in the 10, because we don't have that plan in terms of the development, in terms of under 13, under 15, schools of excellence and programs that will produce players who are that good, our options are just, at this point, it looks Rele or Tito, because Themba Zwane is out. And so we go foreign because I think we are pushed in that particular direction. But I think South African players go ahead of the pecking order. And also, Hugo Bruce did mention that he's going to give Tito a try. He's going to be patient. So the proof will be in the pudding. The qualifiers, will he play? Will he start? And if he doesn't, then it seems he's gone a different direction.
Yeah, we'll see, Chuck, what becomes of that. I just feel like we lucked into these South Americans. Like Sundowns went and scouted them and brought them here, and they're not gonna play for their national teams. Let's use them. Like they're here and they are that good. But as I'm saying, like if Rele can step into that position, I hope this is what happens. He steps into that position, and we all left thinking, why did we ever even doubt the boy? Like, because he just keeps delivering whatever is asked of him.